Welcome back to Ferrigno Freedom Channel. For those of you who are returning and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Dante Ferrigno, and I've been doing a carnivore diet known as the Lion Diet now for a little over 4 years, and it has just changed things like I wouldn't believe would have changed just because of changing the way I eat. And today we're coming back with another carnivore conversation with a gentleman who has only been doing the carnivore diet for about 2 to 3 months, where he's been really strict about it. But I understand he's been struggling to get on it as he gets started. Welcome, Thomas Pruett. How are you doing?
Thank you, Dante. I'm doing good. I can't complain. Everything is like going into the right direction. I have some good days and some bad days, but today proved to be pretty good. One of them being able to interview with you, obviously. So,
Well,
yeah,
it's a pleasure to have you
so it's
here.
been going
Great.
forward.
I know there's a lot of new carnivores out there who would love to hear from somebody who's having some of the struggles that you've been having with it, because they're having similar struggles. And I
Yeah.
think you can pull through those things, and we can talk about how you've had some successes. But let's first go back to the very beginning. Go back to maybe even your childhood and talk about what your health history was like leading up to your desire to follow a carnivore way of eating. What was it that brought you to this? But lead us up there, because, like I say, people have gone through the things that you're going through, and the more they can identify with your story, the more it's going to resonate.
When I was really young, I was a pretty thin kid, like when I was like in grammar school and stuff like that. But when I was about 13, I was overweight. Somewhat. My parents got divorced when I was about 7. And I'm not going to lie, I had very hard childhood. I was like made fun of in school a lot and stuff like that. So I actually did like for a while there when I finally got a job, every time I got my paycheck, I would actually go to the local 7-Eleven and I would get, and this was on me, I would get like a large sub. Back then they actually made the full sub. It wasn't like pre-made. So I'd actually get like a large sub and then I would get like four candy bars and maybe 2 cupcakes or 3 cupcakes. And then I'd get, I don't know if you ever heard of Laffy Taffy. It's this
Oh,
little
yeah.
thing, but back then, back then it was in squares. It wasn't the way it is now. And I would get that and I would get a 3-liter bottle of soda and I would eat it in a buttered roll because obviously you have a buttered roll and from 7-Eleven. And I would go home, go in my room, and I'd finish it all in one day.
Oh, my God.
Soda and everything. Yeah. And because it was just a lot to deal with. That's probably my furthest memory. I lost weight after a while. I got up to about 379 as an adult, and not really through carnivore, but through just doing some changes in my life. I started going more low carb. And I started to, one of the things I did was I actually worked security overnight, security at a mall, like when everybody's gone. And I figure that I have the reign of the whole place. I just have to do my runs and everything like that. So I asked my boss, I said, is it okay if instead of taking the vehicle around, could I just walk? And they said, we have to put some miles on the vehicle. So at least an hour. But other than that, for 7 hours, I actually walked and I didn't have my weighted vest, but I did put about like 50 pounds of weight on my back while walking around. And I think that's what helped me lose all that weight. Like I went from 379 to about 270 at the time. So I lost about 100 pounds, like a little over 100 pounds. So,
Basically just
you
rucking,
know,
cutting out some of the carbohydrates.
yeah. At that time, I didn't know what it was called, but I just thought it was
Yeah.
a good idea. You just put it in the backpack. And it wasn't through until I saw you that I knew what rucking was. Oh, yeah, I've done that. But I felt the vets would just be more evenly distributed, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah, it
And,
does. Rucking is typically done with backpacks too. I get a lot of grief from soldiers and stuff, former soldiers who talk about rucking as being a big part of their life too, but they're big on it being all on your back. So I'm looking to upgrade to the full backpack design.
yeah, I'll be honest, I've only worn the vest like once or twice because like I have my shoulders been hurting a little bit lately. So I'm just trying to stay off the extra weight right now. But it's not it's just, you just want to be gentle with it. And that's actually to segue a little bit. That's why I'm wearing the red shirt underneath. And I ended up the shirt shrank, so I'm not wearing it now because it's a little tight and I just didn't think it would be appropriate for the show. But basically, I don't know if you know about today, but today is Red Shirt Day. for the troops.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It's so, yeah. Somebody told me on SBG, I guess he's from the military from back when, and very nice guy. I'm not going to name his name because he is pretty private. And he was telling us that every Friday until the troops are all back from being deployed, it's called like Return Everyone Deployed, I think is what it stands for. And I actually put a thing on it with my channel, like a little video about it.
Okay. Today
Yeah.
is March 21st. For anybody watching this, wondering what we're talking about, I do record these before they go out. It's because I try to get them out on
Yeah.
set.
It makes sense. But
This is going to come out about 2 to 3 weeks after we finish recording.
okay. Yeah, that's about how long it took with the interview I did with Carrie. It's about how long it took for the interview with Carrie Manns, which again, I'm so overly grateful because I think it's so important that we were able to tell our stories. So any platforms that allow that, it's so gratifying.
Yeah,
So
well, I
thank
love making videos about cooking and motivation and all that, but there's just nothing that seems to beat real life experience and what's happened when it comes to people being able to hear it over and over from people who are having results. I think these conversations are real important, so I'm glad you came on. So
thank
you were
you.
working security and doing some rucking and cutting back on carbs. How long ago was that?
Oh God, that was probably about almost 20 years ago,
Okay.
maybe like 15, 20 years ago. I'm so bad with time math.
Yeah, I
Time
understand.
flies
I
by
am
so
too.
fast, you know.
Horrible at it. And
Yeah.
I never know what day it is unless I look at my watch.
I think once you turn 50, you start losing it even more.
It might be. So we're still 20 years back and you're about 270-ish. What happened after
Right.
that?
Not much after that. I just kept on going with, like, I tried staying low carb as much as I could. At that time, about 20 years ago, around that time is when I found out about being diabetic. I was about 30 when I found. So during that time, like that's one of the reasons why I went low carb too, was because I wanted to lose the weight and everything. And actually oh, you know what? Actually, the security job was probably closer to 15 years because 20 years I was at my other job where I worked for a company called After Hours Formware. And I worked in, I don't know if you know much about New Jersey, but I worked in a town called Flemington, New Jersey. And that's when I really found out about the diabetes. Because I remember my assistant manager, I was actually managing the store. My assistant manager suggested going on the Atkins diet. And so I went, but I was still like, okay, I don't know if this is a good idea. I don't know if this is really going to help me because the recommendations were still
Low fat.
to be, yeah, the low fat and carbs. So it was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. But I think I was still doing it, but just reluctantly, if that makes any sense. You know,
You were doing Atkins
but
reluctant.
I was going a little far. I was trying to do Atkins, but just very, very reluctantly.
For
Like,
following
okay,
the book's instructions, the because he wrote a book back in the
um,
60s, but then he had a new one come out in the 90s.
yeah, no, not really the book. More just knowing that he's just doing low carb and just eating a lot of the proteins and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it's following it. I'll be honest with you. I have a very hard time focusing. So if I start a book, then I'll want to read another book, then I read another book. So after a while, I'm like reading 6 books at the same time, and then I lose track and I never finish them. So I just don't start them because it's like it just starts a pathway for me. So I try not to. I just watch the videos and stuff like that. Basically, it sounds lazy. When you're reading like 6 books at a time, it's a little overwhelming.
Sometimes you gotta know
So
yourself too. If you know
yeah.
yourself, you make choices that are good for you.
Yeah, hopefully carnivore is going to help me with my mind and I can start focusing better. But which I think it's helping me in a lot of ways. There's some things that felt like it was taking a long time, but now it's starting to the wheelhouse is starting to come around. One of the things I didn't really have right away was like my sugars weren't getting lower. And now they are because I did that priming with Coach Raymond.
Before we get too much into what's happening on carnivore, I want to know what led you to try carnivore. You said you were
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
doing
I
Atkins
went off
20 years ago, and then you were doing low carb 15 years ago and exercising a little more, but you're still
So I was going, yeah, I was going back and forth. Sorry about that. I have a habit of doing that. So thank you for putting me back on track.
it's okay.
So I was going back and forth. It was like more keto, like after a while, it was more keto. And before my mom died, I even tried getting her to do keto and we were improving quite a bit. My sugars were starting to go down. I lost a few pounds. But again, you still have the carbs and all that stuff. And she actually basically stopped doing it because, and this is why I say this all the time. I think like why I cry is because I want to get my A1C down because so much happened to me because of a high A1C.
Was
I
your
actually,
A1C at the highest?
at that time that I know of was 13.5. My last baseline, I had it all the way down to 7.2, but then it went up again because of the holidays. Like before I started in the 3 months. So it went up to 8.9. So I call it the baseline. So right now, at this moment, my baseline is 8.9. I'm getting my A1C checked again on the 4th of April. So we'll find out the new baseline and we'll find out with this 3 months of me being on carnivore, how it's benefited me. I believe it's actually done now. I can't see it going higher or staying at that level of 8.9. And my goal is to get to at least to 5.4, because that will at least indicate that I'm no longer diabetic, at least in remission, basically. And all the damages I had, I don't know if you're aware or not, but I had my toes amputated
I did not
on
know
my
that.
right foot. Yeah. And I had at least 3 operations on my left heel where at least 25% of the bone in my heel is pretty much removed.
Wow.
So I find it like I contribute even partial carnivore to helping me be able to get out of the wheelchair and to be able to walk again. And I don't use a cane. I just pretty much walk. I have a hard time walking long distances, so I do have to stop every once in a while, but I'm getting better and better at that. My strength of distance is getting better and better. I actually just got a job that will be starting in next week sometime. So I wish I could walk to it, but unfortunately I have to take an Uber or something like that 'cause I don't have a car, because of a whole different situation.
So, Thomas,
So
you were low carbonate for those 15 years, basically trying to cut out sugar as much as you could and eating
yeah,
meat and vegetables and doing a lot of keto. But it wasn't until
great.
January 1st of this year that you decided to go strict carnivore.
This is how I look at it. Basically, when I was going strict carnivore, I was going for like, I'd say I'd go strict carnivore for 3 weeks. I'd be like totally no sweets, no nothing. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, and I'm guessing you're not. I actually live right above a chocolate shop.
Oh, wow. Talk
I told you, Gary, the same reaction. So I do go down there because you give them support because it's their business, and I'm not going to the guy is just trying to make money and just do. And he's very nice. He's actually been very sweet to me. They're all very nice. And I go down there for the coffee, and I'm at a point now where I can go down there, look around, and nothing. Like
Good.
I don't do it at all. Like today, I went there for coffee before seeing you, and my sugars actually went really low. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just put a little cream in the coffee just to give it a little bit of a push. And it went down to below 65. And yeah, I was going downward. So I wouldn't prevent it from going any lower. Like I want a lower blood sugar, but not that low. And the girl asked me, she goes, because she was worried, she asked me if I wanted like a non-Perel or something like that. But I'm like, no, I think the cream will be fine. I think there's just enough sugar in that to boost it up a little bit. And it did. Now it's at 99, so I'm good. But I got the CGM, so I got my meter, did
Wow.
everything. I got that, and I actually can see it on my phone, so I have it on both the
So,
phone and the
how long ago was the amputation?
computer. Amputation was about 2 years ago. I was going on and off, and the only reason why I stopped the on and off was because, like, if you get depressed, you might have, like, something to go off it a little bit. And also, too, as much as I love them, my family is not really they're into, like, the decadent. So when you go there and visit for a holiday or something like that, and sometimes I'll take in my sister's dog, and the whole house is like full of mostly like croissants and bagels. And there's like maybe like of the house, if you're going percentage, maybe 5% of the house has meat in it. The the rest is like all carbs and stuff like that. So when you have nothing else to eat, you have no choice. And I even had food ordered, but it just didn't last long enough. And So that'd be the only time I really cheat. And it's the sort of worry I have for Easter because I know she's going to have all these. She'll have some meats and everything like that, but just to keep myself in control. One of the things I plan on doing is just eating a lot before I go. So then at least I'm not like super hungry and everything like that. But I'm not going to kick myself in the butt if I do stray a little bit. I'll just get right back on track because one of the things I learned from people is like, I keep on hearing, oh, I got off and I cheated, so I can't get back on again. And I don't really look at that as a possibility, to tell you the truth. It's if you get off, get right back on again. It's not
Yeah,
that hard to get back on again. You just have to know that, hey, I shouldn't have had that one thing. I know it affects me. And the only way I'm going to have it not affect me anymore is to get back onto the track.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
is easy
yeah, that's what I'm
sometimes to
trying to
get
tell
into
you.
the habit of doing the same thing over and over, though. If you cheated one time, it becomes easier to do it again. But that's where you got to do
Yeah.
exactly what you just said.
You got to snap it right off. You got to snap it right off. Just forgive yourself and go back.
Absolutely.
It's like so many people kick themselves. I heard one lady a few weeks ago was like kicking herself because she felt guilty about how now she knew the truth. And I felt bad for her, how she knew the truth and that she was feeding her kids this food all this time. And she felt so guilty about it. But she was like so onto the guilt that she wasn't focusing on staying on it and and it's like, you can't keep on punishing yourself. We all make mistakes. We all done. And you just got to get right back on track. And that's why I use the analogy for being on and off carnivore is like a train. You're on the train of carnivore and sometimes you're kicked off the train and sometimes you do have to run to get back to the train, but just get back on the train and just keep on doing, you
What
know?
was it that you were doing while you were doing keto and low carb and stuff like that that made you think that carnivore was an option? Or did somebody show up on YouTube, or what was it that made that an option?
I think it was a slow process. Okay. So when I did keto, it was back when my mom did and everything like that. And she stayed off because her why was to lose weight. And she was doing everything else. She actually she was very dizzy and her dizziness went away. She was able to climb up and down the stairs. She didn't need a walker anymore. Things were improving. Like she had the great non-weight victories, but she wasn't losing weight. So because her why wasn't being met, she thought it wasn't working. So she went off it. And I think I just kind of went off track a little bit. I'm sorry about that, Dante.
No,
But
I was trying to ascertain how you discovered carnivore.
oh, I discovered carnivore quite a while ago. I started off with my diet plan by I watched this one video, but I forget what her name is. It was like some kind of TED talk. And she talked about, what kind of triggered it was she actually talked about how fat lowers insulin and how carbs raise it. So when I heard that, that started a little bit of a logic to me. It just seemed to make sense. So I did a little bit of like NC=1 experiment and would look at like by clicking my finger and everything, look at, okay, how does fat affect me? And I realized that what she was saying was true. That fat does lower it and proteins are in the middle and carbs raise it every time. Now, it didn't mean that I gave up the carbs at that point because you're still hearing, oh, you need fiber, you need this, you need that. You're still taking the advice to a certain extent. But slowly, I'm listening more to my logic and more to online than to like the medical facility. Like I had one nutritionist that told me that like when I asked if I could have butter, they're like, we can't have that. I said, why not? Like pretty much didn't say anything. And she like comes out with because it's a carb. It's how much do you know if you don't even know what butter is? Like you should at least know the macronutrients. But I think what helped grow the tree basically is I watched Dr. Berry in the beginning. I was actually watching him before he was carnivore, like when he was keto and he then
Yeah.
became carnivore. I watched my mom and me actually watched Bella. I was actually telling Bella the other day, my mom was intrigued with your piano playing and everything. Like she loved her. And I'm sure that made her feel good. And then I watched a guy named Bob Briggs. which did a video called Butter Made My Pants Fall Down or Made My Pants Fall Off or something like that. I don't know if you remember him or not. Yeah. I don't think he's around anymore. I think he just disappeared. But I'm sure he's around. He just disappeared from YouTube. And then after a while, I start watching Carrie Mann. And then I start watching you. And and then everybody. Now I probably have about at least 100 people that I subscribe to that I tried. Obviously, I can't watch all 100. It's a bit impossible, but I pretty much know a lot of people. And I don't feel I really fully became carnivore, even though I was going, I'll be like 3 weeks on, and then one day I'll be off, or one moment, and then I'll be on, and I'll be off. It was like, and, but I don't, but the past 3 months, April 1st will be my third month, like completely. So I actually started New Year. So New Year, new me, right?
Yeah.
And I don't feel I really fully started until I joined. I was always in the background, like on my TV, watching you guys. But I never went into the chats, never did that. I just watched the videos and that's it. So I was rooting on, and then after a while, one day I actually was like, you know what? I'm going to send Carrie Mann an email. I need to tell a little bit about what happened to me. At the very least, get it out of my system because it was such. So I told him about the foot, and I had a bad infection too. Actually, what happened was, and this is a pretty bad story, but I went to make it shorter. I actually went to the hospital 3 times after having my foot done. I had a really bad pain in my back. And I went one time and they gave me a pain med, like Tylenol by the IV. And then they sent me home, even after I told them that it didn't work.
Sounds about right.
And yeah. And then 2 days later, I went back. And this time I didn't know really about the bathroom thing. So I noticed I hadn't gone to the bathroom like 4 days. So I'm like, I don't think I didn't really think that this was the cause, but I thought, might as well tell them about this too. So I told them, so they gave me a laxative. I was there for about 16 hours and I was in a wheelchair at the time. And they took me in the wheelchair, wheeled me outside, and they said, okay, you can go home now. No, no discharge or anything, just as if I was like some vagrant trying to get,
Wow.
but when I went back there a third time, which coincidentally was on September 19th and my birthday, September 20th, it was actually my 50th birthday. What a good way to celebrate your 50th birthday. And so I went back in the hospital. This time I was so bad. I don't remember how I got to the hospital. To tell you the truth. I know I had to call an EMT, but I'm not sure how I got from my apartment into the ambulance because they could take the wheelchair. So it'd be a gurney, but I don't remember them bringing in the gurney up the elevator or anything like that. So I went to the hospital. They gave me an MRI and a CAT scan, but the MRI showed that I had an infection, a MRSA infection right inside my spine. And it was like growing basically. So I ended up having to go for about another 3 months about 2 months from September to November from my birthday, September 20th to November, right at like day before Thanksgiving. And I had to get what was called a PICC line and get an antibiotic put through in order to get rid of that infection. And who knows if you even get fully rid of it, but it was enough to get me back. And I had to go through all this stuff, fight with them and everything like that, where for the menu and all that stuff. Like you try being carnivore, you try being at least being keto, but try doing that at the hospital or rehab,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
like right.
Anywhere where they got
And
to
now
follow the food pyramid.
I know exactly how Mitch is doing when it comes to that because I've been there. I've done that. Like he's probably finding them tooth and nail to get the right food and everything. But so I went through all that and I was in a wheelchair for quite a while. And I was so bad, I was actually bedbound. I had an unintentional, like very much around that time too. I had an unintentional fasting, 9-day fast. I did intentionally fast for 4 days, but when I went into the hospital, my podiatrist with my foot, he wanted to go back into the foot again to make sure that the infection wasn't in the foot as well. Because if it was, then there'd be an issue. So he just wanted to go in, check it. And for some reason, he couldn't do an x-ray on it. He felt it was a lot better by going in entirely. So I had to do the operation. I had to do a dry, when you do an operation too, when you go through anesthesia, you have to do a dry fast before that. Like you have to dry fast for 12 hours, but they were actually backed up a day. So I ended up dry fasting for 36 hours. Then I got so sick after that, any food I ate, even water, got thrown up.
Mm.
So basically it was like 9 days before I could actually swallow anything.
And this was
Yeah,
last year?
yeah, probably about a year ago.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm very bad with timelines. But yeah, it was, unfortunately, I had a really bad roommate at the time too. So,
How so?
the she originally would pay me, she was actually a very bad alcoholic. And during this time, she actually decided to quit her job so she could drink full time. You know, her average, I actually counted it one time, and her average was 30 cans of beer a day.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that anybody could handle that. I know I couldn't, but to add even more emphasis to it, she was about 5'2" and about 110 pounds. So she definitely could not handle that much beer, but she would just sit there, sit on the, and she made it so impossible to live in my own apartment that I actually was forced into my room because I needed the rent. I needed her help financially. When I first went into 2 years, she actually opened my mail so she could find out if she could smoke in my apartment. She literally, like, I had mail that got dropped off by the new lease. And while I was in rehab for my toes being taken off, she actually calls me up on the phone. She's, "Oh, how are you doing? What's going on?" I go, "And I'm doing fine." I never really liked talking to her, but like, okay, long story of like how she came into play. And she goes, "Yeah, just to tell you, you got a letter slipped under the door." I'm like, "Okay, just put it on my desk. Okay, that's fine." So I took it to work and I decided to read through it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, but I mean, at the time, God bless her soul, my sister was, she was actually helping me pay half the rings. At that time, I didn't have a job and I didn't get my long-term disability yet because it's about 5 month wait for long-term disability. So my sister's paying half the rent. And so so we're like, I guess we just pretty much have to let it go because we can't lose her because we're getting the money. At that time, she was paying the money. But then when I went for the back problem, she actually decided to quit her job. And her answer to me, when I said to her, I said, "You need to look for a job so you can pay me." So for 5 months, she didn't pay me any rent. And unfortunately, the law was more on her side.
Yeah.
In fact, I had one cop lecture me because one of the things I did was I took away the cable. Because one, I don't use the cable. I just stream channels and stuff like that. To me, cable is like a waste of time. So I took it off. So the cop went to me, he goes, "Did you take the cable away from her?" I go, "Yeah, because she's not paying anything to get the cable. She's the only one, you know." And he's, "You shouldn't do that. That's not nice." I should give me my rent money.
Yeah.
Well, I had the cable in the first place for her.
That definitely
So
explains why you had such a rough roommate to live with. Uh,
yeah,
go on with how you were progressing out of this medical situation you were dealing with.
yeah. It's like the past 2 years, I guess you might even say the 4 years, because everything started off, unfortunately, when my mom passed away. She passed away in 21.
Mm.
And
Nothing.
I think I took it really to heart, really, really, obviously. And because I was taking care of her, my mom had metastatic breast cancer and it actually metastasized in the bones. So towards the end, her skull like deteriorated. So it like just made her, was no different than her kind of being like dementia or Alzheimer's. She's just started to really go bad and everything like that. And but once at that time, I wasn't really working, so taking care of her, but her paycheck paid for everything. And then once her paycheck, that's when everything went into topsy turvy. She's out of pain, so I'm happy about her not being in pain anymore, and she's in a better place now. But I still miss her, and I think it's going to take a while to really get over that fully. I don't think even my family realized how much I had to do to take care of her. And so you have all these things that just factors of health and everything. And it just, I think we all have our stories, basically. We all have our pasts and everything, or our future. And I don't feel like my story is any more important than anybody else's story. But I think it's something that when I was in rehab, the one thing I had, and obviously you're helping me with that, and it's like therapeutic. So thank you again, is I was like with my family and everything like that. No one wanted to hear what was going on. I didn't like I love my family, but I had maybe one visit like a month from anybody. And like it's not that I regret, it's not that I have any resentment or anything. Like the one thing I was like kept hush. Like I wasn't no one wanted to hear, okay, what happened to you? Why did this happen to you? And stuff like that. It wasn't until I joined Carnivore that people are actually willing to hear it, willing to embrace it. And that that my story kind of felt some solace in it. And so I think that's the missing puzzle right there is to join the community. You have to join
Right.
something.
That's what I
You
wanted
know,
to
it's kind
ask
of
you about. When you said join carnivore, you referring to joining up with Healing Humanity or maybe some other.
yeah, I started off with a bunch of email I sent Carrie, and he responded in kind. And then about a week later or so, I figured out how to be able to go and like chat. And I sent Carrie a chat, and then I ended up joining. And then I actually did a contest for the hashtag life, and I actually won the membership.
Awesome.
So I won that membership. Oh, the luck just keeps on growing. The fortune just keeps on growing. I end up winning that membership. Then I won. And then what happened was then I joined Mitch, became a Mitch. And I don't know if you ever heard of the Mitch Fits.
No,
That's
I
what we all
haven't.
call ourselves. Yeah, that's what we all call ourselves. There's shirts and everything like
Mitch
that
fit.
called the Mitch Fits. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think somebody called it Misfit at one time, and then
Yeah.
somebody coined the Mitch Fit. And then after that, then I was on Bella, and I had a question, but it was such a large question about my omeprazole, how to kick, because that was the one thing I wasn't fully off of yet, because every time I tried to get off that, my gastrologist would be like, oh, you can be on it. Don't worry about it. And so I didn't ask to be on it. I asked to be off it,
Yeah.
but he made it look like I was trying to be on it. And so I asked Dr. Phil a question, but it was such a large question. And he was like, I need more information. So it ended up becoming such a large question. I finally said, can I just email you?
Is this
You know,
Dr.
so he gave me
Philip
the email.
Ovadia?
No, Dr. Phil Smith. I'm sorry, he's part of the SVG gang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I ended up sending the email, and then Miss Lindy actually emailed me back saying about my story. I told the story just like I told Carrie, and I and they emailed me back offering me another free membership for SBG. So I ended up doing that. Now I'm hoping I don't get them in trouble or anything like that. But I was going to actually, because of not really being able to afford it, but I just wanted to get the payments to start around my paycheck, because I get paid once a month with the social security disability. And so I wanted to be taken out right when I get paid. So I told them I'd have to leave for a while. And I pretty much had the money set up and everything like that. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's a lifetime membership.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that I know my story is something, but I didn't think it was considered that important.
I
And
know Bella, she is very concerned about her audience and the people who are out there and what they're going through. So,
no, yeah,
uh,
I love them all. I really do. I love everybody. Everybody's so welcoming. So membership of Healing Humanity Life. I stayed with them, obviously. I would be a member of Homestead How and stuff like that, but I'd rather just do the big one. To me, Healing Humanity Life is like I get more out of
what has that
it.
done for you, having that community? I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm learning recently, how valuable it is. What has it done for you? And also go
Oh,
over your past 2.5 months, your past 2 months and 3 weeks. What has carnivore done different for you?
now that I'm like a lot stricter, I still have my temptations and everything like that, but I haven't delved into indulge into them. Every once in a while, I'll have a thought, but then what it has done for me is actually prevented those thoughts somewhat from blowing up. It's helped me become accountable. Around that same time, I also started my channel too. And the channel is basically me just doing different things and I actually just did, because I actually have 2 more interviews tomorrow and everything's just super exciting. So I actually did shout out to you and those 2 guys, just
Thanks.
saying this is all wonderful and everything like, but it's just basically, I have a video of me putting on my weighted vest for the first time and just trying to get it on and everything like that. And it's a silent video. So it's me putting it on. It's not me talking, not anything, just me putting it on, like almost like a silent film. And me doing squats for the first time, because before I couldn't go down on the ground at all. Now I can do a few squats. And it's just, I think even before things were getting improved, but now the community has helped me stay on track, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. It
And
doesn't make sense until you experience it, though, does it?
no, like Gary Mann was totally right. You're not out of the fog until you've been until you don't know you're in the fog until you're out of the fog. Like,
It's a good one.
and that's not my quote. That's Gary's quote. I remember saying in one of the videos, he said it several times. I that's why I'm so grateful to you guys. Other than the 2 memberships winning, I also won about 3 shirts. Like, I won 2 Healing Humanity shirts, and then I won from Bella, I won a thing of Carnivore crisps and a thing of Carnivore bars. And that's why I was asking you last week about the Carnivore bar, because I actually won it and it wasn't really my favorite. I like the
Yeah.
Carnivore crisps better.
Yeah, I understand. Did you have the unsalted
Well,
carnivore bar?
yeah, I believe like what I won was the unsalted.
That makes a
Like
bit of a
I'm
difference, but
probably
they are bland still, even with just a plain salted.
yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to start working on the 26th for the first time in a couple of years. Someone finally, because I actually used to work at the Quick Check right by me. I don't know if you Quick Check or not.
No.
It's like a convenience store, like 7-Eleven type
Okay.
thing. And I used to work at the store right in the same complex that I live in. But the new manager, because she knew my history of having a hard time moving, she didn't think I'd be fast enough to actually work for her, which is not good on that part. But my old manager was willing to hire me again. But unfortunately, it's at a store that it's a $15 Uber drive each way. So it's like $30 a day.
Yeah.
But she was willing to hire me. And which I'm grateful. If I had to because we can only work because of the disability, I can only work about 16 hours anyway. That should be fine. And I know you're not going to be fast, but I know you're going to still work hard and you're going to do it. She knows my record and all that stuff. So yeah. So I filled out the paperwork yesterday online, the background check. So I know I'm hired because I had to also give them my direct deposit information. So I don't think they would have hired me if they didn't take my bank information, because that would be too ethical. You
Yeah.
can't like this your bank. I did all that. And so it's just a matter, I asked them if I could wait until after the 26th, because that's when I get paid from my new roommate. So I figured that would have Uber money and to be able to start off.
That's
So
exciting. Were you able to wind up getting off of omeprazole? I know you mentioned that earlier. You were talking to
I did. Through the advice, not medical advice, but through the advice of somebody from SBG, I just pretty much, so far it's been, the last time I was on, it was February 6th. So I haven't had it since then. And yeah, I have some issues here and there, but nothing that I would need the omeprazole for. Like I switched over to somebody recommended it actually helps. And I'm drinking it right now. I have this Life is Good cup right now that basically has some water in it. And I don't do bottled water. I have like a water filter and I filter my water. So it's always in the cup, but some apple cider vinegar, like a cap full of apple cider vinegar in
Yeah, I
there.
just got
And
a
that
water
helps.
filtration system the other day. It is so much better than having to buy bottled water all the time.
it's not really, it's not like in my faucet, but it's like you just like pour and it goes into the refrigerator, but it's like a harder plastic. It's like a better quality because the plastic bottles I was getting, I mean, you could just tell the quality of it. It was like 40 bottles for $5. So how good are the bottles? Obviously, it's going to be cheap plastic.
Yeah.
So I just felt that getting the better and only having it just and then putting it into this again, into this guy here. Let me see if I can. Sorry about that. My camera's like on a delay. So
Okay.
my sister actually got me up and says, life is tough, but so are you. So it helped give me three different
Hey,
things. I have like different.
it's important to have those affirmations, especially when you've got negative thoughts about yourself that you got to turn around. What's that?
This one's from school. I don't know if you see him or not.
The dog. Yeah.
And I actually named him Todd Lindy after Todd Bullock's Eliminus Lindy. So he's actually on with my channel. You'll see him in the beginning with this hat here.
What was the name of your
And
channel, by the way? I didn't even know you had a YouTube channel.
yeah, Target Prime Rib.
Target Prime Rib. So at Target
Yep.
Prime Rib is what they could find it with.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. I wanted to make sure to get that
Yeah.
out there since you got one. That way people can get more of your story.
Yeah, no, people know it just recently reached 221 subscribers on it, including Kerry Mitt. He actually is one of the subscribers on it and many others. And then I think Dr. Phil too, Dr. Phil Smith, the guy we were talking about, I think he's a member too, if I'm not mistaken. And then I have about 87 videos that I have made so far.
That's a bunch.
So that all started 2 months, like in January, like around January, February, that whole thing. I'll be honest with you, part of the growth, because when I got interviewed by Kerry, like when he put it out, before that was like 92 subscribers. After I saw him, it went to 221. Obviously,
Apparently, I
Kerry
did
had
know
a lot.
about it. I'm already subscribed too. I didn't even realize it. I don't always
Oh,
I don't watch as much as I would like to of YouTube in general because I'm so busy. But yeah, I'm one of your subscribers. Hopefully, you'll have a few more
okay.
after this too. I understand you
Yeah.
were able to come off of another medication other than on omeprazole. Can you talk about that any?
You're talking about the gabapentin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was actually a decision I just made. I was on it when I had my back issue and everything like that. And it was prescribed to me for nerve pain, basically. Obviously, I was in like really bad pain.
Yeah.
And when I went home, as I'm taking it, I realized that my pain was still there even after I was taking these pills. I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing, and the pain was not going away. So I decided after a while, and I weaned it, went from 2 pills twice a day to one pill twice a day, weaned it off. And I just, I made my own decision, just I guess NC equals one experiment again. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to try going without this because, and eventually, actually, the pain started subsiding. And I found I didn't need it at all. It
Great.
wasn't helping me.
And this is pain in
Yeah.
your extremities, right? This is neuropathy from diabetes.
From the neuropathy and yeah, yeah, basically from the neuropathy and everything like that.
That's a big deal to be able to come off of gabapentin. I can tell you as somebody who deals in life insurance, and one of the best ways to know how long somebody's going to live is listen to life insurance. One of the funny things about life insurance is they don't really care about cholesterol. Isn't that interesting? You'd think they would care about it because they got to pay
Well,
if you're dying of something, but cholesterol, high
you
cholesterol
think
is
it's everybody,
not a
yeah.
concern. But gabapentin combined with diabetes, a lot of companies won't even take somebody who's got that because it's such a dangerous combination for lack of longevity. And having your
Yeah.
A1C up around, would you say it was around 13 before?
When I first started having my foot issues, which was at the very beginning, it was the left heel. It was diagnosed at 13.5. Now I say that's what I'm told because it could have been higher at some point at 13.5. One of the problems I had was God, like he's still a good boss in other ways, but he just wasn't very good at doing my insurance. And at that time, I'm waiting for him to give me insurance for health insurance. And I'm not thinking, oh, I could just do Obamacare, which is better than nothing. And I know. So for 2 years, I didn't have insurance. So for that 2 years, I was never able to be checked. I was never able to. Now, finally, I got it, and I found I was 13.5. But during that 2 years, I could have been like 14, 15 for all I know. And fortunately, it's just you figure out eventually how to get around, how to get through the system. But still,
Getting your A1C down to 8.9, I think you said, was the last time you had checked?
like I said,
A
I
good
had
thing.
it about back in September. I had it down to 7.2,
Oh,
so I
that's
did get it down. But unfortunately, you go back and you cheat because you have September, October, November, December. You have all these holidays. And my next test wasn't until January, like a little bit after I started with the communities and everything. And that's when it went to 8.9 because of all the things. Like I even took care of my sister's dog twice and at a week at a time. And just everything, just my blood sugars would go up to like 400.
Give
Sure.
me 1 second. I gotta let Sam out. He's gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. It's a cute dog.
He is. He just likes to lay back there whenever I'm doing these, but when he's begging to go to the door, he's gotta go.
He's so quiet too about it. Just sits there, okay, I'm giving you the hint.
Yeah. He knows he's the star sitting in the corner. I just have my camera zoomed in a little more so I wouldn't look like make you look like you're so much bigger than I am on the screen. You could have come in like this, and then it would have been like, "Whoa."
I hear you. Yeah, one of these days I'll get better camera equipment and stuff like that and be able to really. I'm actually announced that I'm going to try to do a live. Hopefully, I'll still be able to do it, but do a live on the 16th of April. Hopefully, hopefully it'll all still work out and stuff like that. But what were we talking about? I'm sorry.
We're talking about your experiences on carnivore now. You've been able to get off of omeprazole, you've been able to get off of gabapentin, which as a diabetic is a big deal, especially where your A1C was. To me, that is a huge deal because that's life and death. When you start playing with really high A1C, neuropathy, type 2 diabetes, especially early diagnosed like yours, that's 4 combination factors. That's like what you would call comorbidities. I'm not an expert at that, but the terminology. But you've got 4 factors
Yeah.
going against you there. And now you're turning all of those around. You've already lost limbs, so it's clear your neuropathy was really bad. And how do you feel? That's the killer question right
I
there.
feel pretty good today. I did have a little bit, like basically for about a month ago. My sugars were actually getting high again, and I was actually doing what was called priming. And that's basically, I'm not going to get into that because it's a whole different thing, but it's basically where you eat more is the
Okay.
basics of it to get nutrients into your body and stuff like that. So I was eating almost 6 meals a day in the beginning and then it got lower. But when my sugars were that high, now I didn't really give them the information fully. They thought when I said high sugars, they thought I meant 120 and it was like 280, almost 300. And so I said that
When was
about a month ago. About a month ago, it was like I had lows and highs. And at that time with the priming, with all that extra food and everything like that, even with carnivore, it just was reaching a high level. And because there's other factors of high blood sugar than just eating.
yeah.
There's stress, and at that time, I didn't have my CGM. Finally, I got a CGM, like I was just showing you before, and I got my sugars down. And I've been doing this for the past 3 weeks. I've been doing what's called an ADF, which is alternate day fasting, where I would eat, and I eat about when I do eat, I eat a minimum of 2 meals a day, but usually it's three. And last night I indulged and had I actually went to the local pizza place, and they actually make me roast beef like some kind of cheese. But yesterday I just had cheese. I just was a little hungry and it was past my eating time too. And if I go off, I do apologize.
We lost you for a second there at least.
Okay.
There you
Am
are.
I back?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the most like when I do videotapes, it does it right in the middle of me doing a video. So it's like I have to stop it, start it back up again and all that.
There should be a do
I
not
definitely
disturb
want to
feature on your phone you can turn on just so you know. I always
I
forget.
did all it still doesn't. It's like just this it's a cheap phone and like I just had to like learn patience and I do. I just think Dr. Barry's words, vitamin P. And but no, I actually started doing the thing called ADF. And that's where, like, on my eating days, I'll eat two, but I didn't really cheat. I had some cheese. So it's not like I went off carnivore, but I think it was still enough to build my sugars up. So this morning, my sugar was, it wasn't as high as 300 or 250 even. It went up to 180. So I
Mm.
was like getting a little worried. So I took the insulin I have to take. I take Victoza and a couple of short acting and a long acting. So I took the Victoza and the short acting, and it went down to, and it actually it skyrocketed down. And that's when it went down to like less than 60, like about 65, and the arrow going downward. So that's why when I got coffee, like when I found out it was getting I got coffee, and I went back in and I said, "Can you just put some cream in the coffee?" Because normally I drink it black. I'm at a point now where when I first started drinking coffee, like over a year ago, I would have like a minimum of 6 sugars in my coffee, and just a regular size, like a huge cup. And I'd have 6 sugars in it, and I'd have half of it would be like milk with the sugar. And now I don't take any sweeteners. I haven't had an artificial sweetener in a long time. And 90% of the time I drink it black with nothing in it. And I'm trying to wean off the coffee altogether, but it's a weaning process. I think that's like I guess you could say my Achilles heel in this whole thing. I'm able to get rid of most of this stuff, but coffee's just a little hard for me. So I know it will though eventually.
And you may want to be careful with cheese too, because not all cheese is cheese. Most of the stuff you
Yeah,
get restaurant isn't much more than just a topping that is solidified into the form of looks like cheese.
I do agree with you. And I think I have that because I think it was definitely the cheese. I think it was two factors. I think it was the cheese and the fact that I was I had it around 8 o'clock at night. And normally I stop eating around 3, 4. That's like my deadline. So the fact that I went a little bit later, I think was also a factor too, because it's changed the timeline a bit and everything like.
Sure.
So I think all these things were factors, but it's a learning process. Like I'm learning my body. And for me to actually look at 180 as going way too high and seeing that and it cutting off at that is pretty good in itself. Normally my sugars have been, especially like today is a fast day for me. I actually, like I said, I ate last night. I ate yesterday, and my meal was, and I'm just mentioning this because it was funny. There was a comment when I did carries that, oh, he didn't mention what he eats in a day. Something I'll tell you. I had 2 steaks and I had 4 burgers, and I had one and 4 eggs, and I share bacon with my roommate. I help cook for him and everything. So I do in my packages, I have 6 strips of bacon. So I take half, I give him half. So I had like 3 strips of bacon. If I could eat more, I would,
How
but
big
it's
of
a
a
cost
steak are
thing.
you talking about though? And how big of a burger? See, when I have a steak, it's usually 2 pounds. And when I have a burger, it's usually a pound of beef.
Yeah. Each steak was about at least a pound and a half.
Okay.
And then with each, they're not ribeyes or anything like that. I'm not sure what kind of meat, because what I do is they get them in a big, like a pack of 3, and I take them out and I put them in individual bags so that I can just put them in and stuff like that. And I'll add about 8 pats of butter, like 8 thick pats of butter for the steak. I had it with the cold butter with the steak. So it's pretty good. And then I'll have the burgers. It's usually quarter pound that you get at Walmart. I think it's like quarter pound. There may be a little bit less than that, but I have like at the minimum 4 at a time.
Okay.
And I add butter to that too. Sometimes it's a little problematic for the restroom because of the rendered fat, but I still have it and I just deal with it because
So that
I
sounds
like
like
the
about
taste.
4 pounds of beef there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good bit more than I know. I usually eat about 2, maybe on a high side, I might hit 3 pounds in a day, but yeah, that's a little higher than I'm used to. It doesn't mean it's not good for you.
Right. Yeah.
How's your
Don't
weight?
forget though, I'm doing it every other day.
That's true. You are skipping
So
a day. Yeah, and that time off is good for ketosis and other things. How's your weight been
yeah,
affected?
I don't weigh myself. I don't
Oh,
have a scale. I have no, my why was never my weight. If I lose weight, which I have done pretty well, I actually went from today. I had a little problem with the shirt I have underneath that I was telling you about. That actually became, I think it shrunk in the wash. I think that's what happened to this fitting. And now it's like just a little tight. But I went from a 2XL to an XL. And even my XL shirts are starting to get, most of them are starting to getting pretty loose. And luckily, all the Carnivore shirts I got, which is about 5 of them now, I think. Like, this one's actually a Bill Knott shirt. So I'm losing a lot of weight. My pants went down, and I might have shown it when you had your thing on Sunday, when we talk on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hangout, which is spectacular, by the way.
I
But I
enjoy
have
it.
a pair of pants. Yeah, I have a pair of pants that I wore that are really big on me. It's about 3 sizes big. Like, I'm 3 sizes smaller from that. I've brought my belt loop in, I'd say about 3 notches
Yeah, that's a great
at
way to
least.
judge. I understand not wanting to get on the scale because it lies to you. The scale will lie to you, but those notches on your belt, they're not gonna lie to you. Those
Yeah,
shirt
because
sizes,
you don't realize you're not just measuring the fat, you're also measuring the bone density, you're also measuring the muscle weight. And muscle weight, if you think about it, like the size of a muscle, like 1 pound of muscle is like so much smaller than 1 pound of fat. And just giving that analogy. So yeah, you can't just fully go by that. But I always say I get weighed every 3 months when I see my primary doc. Because the primary doctor's going to weigh it. So I get my results. My last weight was 250. I'll find out then if I've gone up from that. I don't, I don't think have a bad reaction if I do gain weight or if I did not lose weight, but I will be pretty shocked by it though, because I can't see that I didn't, if that makes any sense. But I will announce that. And what I'm hoping is when I get my blood work on the 4th, and I'm hoping that I can get, maybe not necessarily on my channel, but just either Dr. Nelson from Healing Humanity or Dr. Phil or both to actually look at my results and tell me what they think. Because obviously I'm going to get a different thing with the primary doctors because they're not keto. They've been trying to put me on a statin for so long. I think there's a contest because pretty much like I do a clinic. It's funny, but it's sad too. I do a clinic basically, and they, every single time, you want to go on a statin? You want to go on a statin? No. Like,
like a
oh,
drug
why don't you
dealer.
go on a statin?
Good
Yeah,
grief.
exactly. Or in our case nowadays, an egg dealer.
We'll give them to you for free
And
to start.
yeah, we'll give you 1 dozen for free, but they just keep on doing it. In the end, I'm not sure if, yeah, I think actually know it was on Dave Mack when they did it to me. I mentioned what I actually said to the doctor was I got a little sarcastic because after a while, you keep on getting asked the same question, and you just get tired of saying no. So you go a little bit beyond that without really yelling. So I told the doctor, I said, you know what? I will have a statin, but you got to force it down my throat. You got to force it down my throat in order for me to take it. So the doctor's like, we can't do that. And I said, oh, then be quiet. Stop asking me. Because that's the only way you're going to get me to have it. And it's sad that you have to get into that extreme. I feel like doctors come into like 3 categories. You have the middle doctor, and there's probably even more categories in there. But you have the middle doctor, and then you have the doctor that is so into doing the low fat and not even really doing nutrition, but just forcing the medication, just forcing the statins, forcing all this stuff. And because they're pretty much being paid by the system, or at least being coerced. They want that promotion or something like that, and they're just showing up. And then you have doctors like, and this is where I'm really grateful for these, Dr. Barry, Dr. Ovalia. Yeah. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Dr. Kiltz. All these people that were doing the bad thing, but then all of a sudden got a realization. And this is why I'm fascinated by them because they saw the light.
Yep.
They saw what they were doing was wrong and they did something about it,
And they
you
did it
know?
at risk to their own license and things like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to give them kudos. Like,
Yeah.
I'm finally, hopefully, knock on wood, I'm finally going to a meetup in Boston. Now, I think the only one that's going to be there that's of that, I don't think he's a doctor actually, it's Thomas Seyfried, but
He was a
I put
professor.
him up in, Yeah, I put him up into that, still in that pedestal. And I haven't actually seen too many of his videos or not, mostly watch, but I will definitely shake his hands and thank him for all that he's done. I thank everybody for all they've done. Like anybody I meet is going to, I think Carrie's going to be there, so I'll be able to shake his hand. I'll think, and actually, I'm now part of, and this is funny because this is worse backwards. I'm now part of KMT, Kilt's Mighty Tribe, and Kilt's Mighty Tribe is free.
Yeah.
So you would think if any memberships I would have started, it would have been Kelch. But and Ali had just recently, a couple days ago, made me a moderator of the Kilt's Mighty Tribes. I'm the guy with the blue wrench, which thank you, Alia, for trusting me.
So that's where a lot of the
Yes.
community part comes in, is it seems like you're just getting a lot of love from a lot of different directions. And that's one of the things I talk to people about all the time is that, especially now, is that I really discounted how important it was having that community because I always felt like I could do everything on my own. I can just do it through force of will and stuff like that. But I didn't realize even having a YouTube channel was giving me that same support just by the people who were giving positive comments and that were watching and liking and all the things because it was encouraging me to keep going. But I wasn't seeing it quite that way until I went down to the meetup in Tampa this past month and or rather, yeah, in February. Ooh,
Yeah.
it just opened my
Yes,
eyes.
that's the same meetup that Mitch went to too last
Yep.
time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I met Mitch.
Um, yes. Yeah, I would have definitely loved that because those steaks looked so good when I saw the video, your video and Mitch's video and everything. I was like, oh my God, especially
Yeah.
those tomahawks. Who did those two tomahawks go to? Did they go to anybody in particular?
Hey, whatever they brought to me, I ate it. I didn't think about where anything else went. I was just enjoying
Oh,
whatever
that's
came up.
true. You probably have the whole peripheral of I'm so just doing the whole thing. But just when I meet everybody, it's just going to be so exciting. Like I'm just really, I'm like, okay, something better not mess this up. Like,
I know
whatever
what
it
you
is.
mean. I know what you mean. I missed the Hack Your Health event last year because I got in a car accident on the way to the airport.
Yeah,
Sometimes things do happen. I'm not gonna jinx you, knocking on wood right now. But, yeah, I
yeah.
know what you mean about that, and then they got Hack Your Health coming up in Tampa again this year in November. I'm actually gonna be meeting up in Tennessee, so for the Yuma, Tennessee thing that we're doing April 13th, I think it is, for Hack Your Health for
Okay, yeah, I like what you're talking about. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded going to the Montana one either
oh, that would have been
with
something.
the one that Rod Bacchus is throwing, but Montana is pretty far from where I live.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I'm not gonna
like
lie.
no, I actually live in New Jersey, same state as Dr. Wiederman. So a lot of times it's asked why you do the cruise. Yeah, in order for me to do the cruise, I have to fly to Florida
Yeah.
and pay for the cruise. So it's like almost like $2,000 for me to do everything. Plus, if I want to have spending money, one of the things I like to do when I go to the meetup in Boston is get something to remember the day, to have a memory of the day, because this to me this is my first momentous occasion.
And
So
I think there's something important that people should know out there who may not have a clue. The people who go to these meetups who are there to speak, they're not getting paid to do any of this. They might, whoever's organizing it might be raising money to pay for the venue and the food and things like that. But nobody who's participating is making a profit
yeah,
from being there. I'm going to drive 10 hours, 10 and a half hours to Tennessee and 10 and a half hours back in a 4-day period just to be there to participate with people because that's how big of a deal it is to have these get it really changes your attitude and
mind
it's
blowing.
hard to it's hard to really put into words how big of a deal it is to have that community and in a face-to-face community and meeting people that are of like mind. I can't put it into words except that it is huge as to how it changes your perspective on things. So I'm glad to hear you're going to get to a meetup too, because the online stuff is
Is
great. It's real important, but it's nothing like
oh
in.
yeah, online definitely enhanced my full carnivore experience. Like without the online, I don't like I didn't like I said, I've been on and off carnivore here and there, but I don't feel like I really fully went carnivore until I went online, until I started meeting, including you, and started meeting everybody. And in the beginning, like when I first did it and everything like that, it's like, who's that guy there? Hi Tom, how you doing? Basically. But then you guys embraced me so much that it's just I'm not going to say it's overwhelming because that sounds like a bad thing. It's just very, well,
Comfortable?
it's just very overwhelming. Yeah. It's because I'm actually very quiet normally. I don't really talk. Obviously, I'm getting over that more and more.
Coming out of your
Yeah, I've always been like in a shell. Yeah, even though I sold cars for about a year, sold furniture. Even though I've been a salesperson, we're going to be interrupted again.
again. It's okay. We're back.
Yeah, I do apologize. It was all the if my computer worked, for some reason the link didn't work on the computer, so I had to do it on my phone.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it wasn't working on the computer.
Hopefully you'll pick up a few more subscribers from this, and that might help you to be able to get a little bit of income from YouTube someday once you get over 1,000 of them. And so anybody who's
Yeah.
watching this, if you want to follow up with Tom on what he's been experiencing, because I'm assuming you're gonna come back and tell us your blood work results on your YouTube channel eventually, right?
Oh, yeah, everything will be announced. I think I was saying before, I'd like to show my test results to either one of those doctors and get like a little bit of an analysis. And if I can show that, okay, this is what this doctor's basically, and just show like something on my YouTube channel. But at the very least, I want to announce that of what my E1C is going to be.
Yeah.
The other numbers don't really concern me that much. If they say so, if Dr. Phil or Dr. Nelson says anything that I should be concerned about, then I'll probably listen. But I'm not going to really be. I don't really look at cholesterol and stuff like that.
They'll
You
probably have
know,
good
and
things to say about it. If your HDL is high and your triglycerides are low and
if
your belt notches are moving down, you're making progress in the right direction. So
you're
that's what they'll be looking for.
that's exactly how I feel too. So but I definitely, because the channel knows that my A1C is my Y. It's known. So obviously I'm going to mention the A1C, and
Yeah.
I will mention, and it, I don't think it's going to go up. I don't think it's my goal is 5.4. And I even put a bet on the channel to myself. Obviously, no one else is with it with me, but that I'm not going to shave until I get down to 5.4. Or at
Okay.
least very that.
I'm looking forward to seeing
So,
you with a clean face.
yeah, if you look in the beginning, you'll see me with a clean face. So you have to go back. But this is about almost 3 months worth of growth. I grew them pretty quickly. It wasn't like a short amount of time, but it's now getting. One guy told me the other day, and I actually have one subscriber that lives in my complex. So you
Huh.
really don't have too many close by, but he actually told me, he's like, I subscribe to your channel. I'm like, okay, cool. But another guy was telling me, he's like, yeah, you need to trim this down because he's in the military. He's like, you can't have it that long. I'm like, I'm not in the military, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I can do whatever I
But
want. It's my face and my beard.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. I'm allowed to have a beard for the new job, but I don't know if I would have to cut it down a little bit. So I don't know if I have to or
People
not
ask
with
me
that.
why I shaved off mine and shaved my head and everything. Is it I was hiding behind my hair, especially when I let it grow real long at one time, which was the only time I'd ever had really long hair. I was trying to hide my face as much as I could. I felt like if I had a beard, it would hide my jowls and stuff like that. And if I had long enough hair, it would hide the bald spot I had on the back and the fact that the front had moved back so far. But I was only fooling myself. So that's why I was so happy to be able to shave. But people, I hear it all the time. You lost your hair. No, I got rid of my hair because I just didn't want to have to deal with it anymore, paying for haircuts and having to deal with itchy.
Yeah.
And I'm not
I mean,
hiding.
yeah, I'm losing it more and more. Like I'm getting a 5'6" head basically instead of a 4 head.
But that's been going
But
on for years.
yeah, unfortunately, I can't say no to that. But
Well, that's a good thing in a
yeah,
way because we don't want to find out that it happened in the past 2 months.
I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but you and me are the same age.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
52.
yeah,
Okay, I thought you were 50
yeah.
based on what we talked about earlier. Now I know.
Well, yeah, yeah. No, I'm actually 50. I'm going to be 53 in September.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll be 53 a couple months later, so we're right there at this almost exactly the same age.
Yeah, yeah. See, I thought we were brothers in that respect.
Hey, let me ask you, Thomas, is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with based on your experience as a diabetic with the high A1C and having lost toes? What could you tell somebody out there who is maybe just heard from their doctor that they're pre-diabetic or that they are diabetic and that they got to go on insulin? Or maybe somebody who's been diabetic who's being told their toes have to come off, what would you say to them?
That's a good question. I basically, one thing is I hear this all the time is I had a person I knew that was also diabetic, and the doctor basically told him when he had a 7.1 A1C, told him that's okay to have that. That's not okay. That's still considered type 2 diabetic. And I also, too, agree with Russ from Homesick Buckeye and semi-retired Bob. I think a lot of people agree with them. I don't think there's really a pre-diabetes or diabetes. If you're in diabetic range, you're in diabetic range. And if you're being told, hey, you're pre-diabetic, a lot of people dismiss it. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm okay. I can just, no, take it seriously is what I would say to you. If you're 5.7 and that's pre-diabetic, then take that seriously. Do whatever now, the best, I'm not saying that going full carnivore is your permanent solution. I can't say the future. I can't say what I'm going to be doing once I find I'm 5.4. Maybe I'll incorporate some vegetables again. Maybe I don't know. We can't predict the future. None of us can. But I do believe you do need to take it seriously, is basically what I'm saying. You need to, like, I'm doing full carnivore because my sugars were really high. I'm getting it down, trying to get it down to 5.4. So right now, I feel I need to be as extreme as possible. And I think carnivore is the way to do that. Again, once you achieve what you want to get, what you do after that. And I actually look at diabetes as almost like alcoholism. When you're an alcoholic, and I've never been an alcoholic, but when you're an alcoholic, you could be without alcohol for like 20 years. As soon as you have that one beer, you can fall right back off again. The number still can go. It's the same thing with diabetes. If you go off long enough, you're going to bring your sugars right back up again. And guess what? You're going to go back to being pre-diabetic or diabetic all over again. So even if you do go off track, I'm not going to call it off track, but even if you do go off carnivore and you go back to keto or you do whatever, you still got to watch your numbers. You still got to keep an eye on it because it can come right back around the corner anytime. And so many doctors, not all doctors, but so many of them, and it's a selling, like they promote the carbs so then they can promote the insulin. It's like a vicious cycle. They tell you that, hey, if you get off the insulin, if you want to have, for you to have insulin, you need the carbs. And for you to be able to have carbs, you need the insulin. It's like this vicious circle that goes around.
And they
And
added in
carnivore
builds insulin
brings,
resistance.
exactly. And, and yeah, I agree with Dr. Kells. You do need the insulin. The insulin does help bring the fat. And the one thing I can actually say in a joking manner, I can actually say that I am very fortunate. I feel very safe in the concept that I have enough fat on me that if we have a famish, that I will survive the famish. But so I don't really worry that much about the fat, and it's getting less and less as time goes on. But this,
It's a
we
health
were all meant to not be skinny. We're all meant to, and human beings are the only animal that worries about that stuff. You never see a dog worry about how fat he's getting or a cat. Can you imagine that? Your dog going to you being like, you think I'm
they're
getting a little bit on the hits there.
yeah, they're not worried about it, but I've seen some dogs that are definitely not healthy because of the way their owners
Well,
feed them,
and why
but
is that? And why is that?
because
Because
their
they were
owners
being
feed
fed crap.
them and stuff like
They
that.
were being, yeah, they're being fed like stuff like, look at Carrie Mann's dogs and look at the story with Emma's cat. He was like, I don't know the exacts of the story, but he was pretty bad, her cat. And they fed it carnivore and it's like thriving now.
Yeah.
And people don't realize they're like, no, you have to feed your animal grains. And it's, I don't have any pets because I'm allowed cats in my apartment, but I can't see getting a pet because of affording it with the vet. Like I would have to have, and if I can't hardly take care of myself, how am I going to take care of a pet? So I just watch the dogs. I have a dog. I'll see a dog and pet the dog and everything, but that's
Okay.
normally pets
So what would your message to somebody who was in your situation was?
to stay to. do the carnivore is
Yeah.
basically the message. But also too, like I said, if you hear you're pre-diabetic, take that seriously.
Yes,
Don't,
absolutely.
you
And I'll
know,
add to that if you
it's
don't mind. Remember I talked about life insurance and how they don't even consider cholesterol as being a big deal? I run into
mhm,
the same thing on the opposite side of this with prediabetes. People want to tell me, "Oh, it's just pre-diabetic." I don't tell them this, but it's the same thing to us. When we're doing life
yeah,
insurance, doesn't matter. It's diabetes. It's diabetes. Or if it's pre-diabetic, it's
yeah,
diabetic. And the
yeah.
reason it
I
is
mean,
they got to pay when people die, and they're not going to pay if it's a risk. And they're assessing risk with the most fine microscope that they can assess it with. And
yeah,
that's one of them. Pre-diabetes doesn't mean anything to them.
yeah,
That's diabetes as far
yeah.
as
You're still diabetic. Even pre should be taken off the list. It should just be diabetic
it's just
right
a
from the right from the
early
beginning.
stage of diabetes, basically.
That's it. It's the beginning stage of it, and it should be because it will get worse. If you keep on the same path that you're going with whether you're doing a sad diet, whether you're doing a bad like whatever, okay? Even if and the worse it gets, the more strict you have to become. That's why, like I said, that's why you have to do that's why carnivore is probably the best option for you because any carbs are going to raise the blood sugar. Any carbs are going to be problematic. So you have to like when you're at 8.9 even, you have to be, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, you have to be extreme as much as you can. And like I said, you can't tell the future. You don't know what's going to happen, but you have to be in the right now and you have to say to yourself, I am bad right now. This is what I need to do. And out there, I don't think 30 days is enough, but I think it is at least a start. I think you need to say, you know what? I think I need to get my health back in order. And I think I need to, again, at least 30 days, but I think 90 days is a better marker. I want to go strict carnivore, maybe not lion diet like you did. I'm not saying that. I don't think you went extreme. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think you have to go that round. I'm sure you agree with that concept,
Yeah.
but to go carnivore. Okay. Now, if you have some ailments and everything like that, maybe take something out like the cheese, like you were mentioning before, something like that. But to go strict carnivore for 3 months. And I would actually suggest, and if money's an issue, I would suggest joining one of the communities. All three of them are wonderful, and just being a part of the community altogether. But KMT Kilts is free. So if you have a money problem and you don't have the ability to, you're not lucky like me where you win the memberships and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which
Sure.
I'm so grateful for that. You basically, community will help you, and you have to basically to be in it full force. And, you're going to have these questions and you're going to have, look, I still get back and forth. Oh, my doctor says I should do this. My doctor says I had a thing with somebody I know that actually was saying like, the doctor actually is for carnivore, but then his nurse practitioner was lecturing him about not eating fiber. Okay, who do you listen to? Do you listen to the nurse practitioner? In my opinion, the doctor trumps the nurse practitioner when it comes to the same thing, but just going back and forth. But you need to commit to it, see the results, which I know that you're going to get good results. Maybe not exceptionally good, but you're going to get some results that you got to be able to see those results. And some are going to be very minuscule, and it's going to be like, I noticed that, or I noticed that, but I wasn't sure type thing. And then you can get things that are like, holy, this is really working. This is
Adds
really
up
good.
quick.
And I think the 3 month is that marker. And because I hear so many stories about people going, oh, I did it for 10 days and it didn't work for me, or I did for a week and it didn't work. That's not enough time. You've damaged your body for years, some people even decades.
Yep.
You put it through all this stuff and you expect it in 1 week to be cured?
To me, it's amazing
I
how much
mean,
in a few months, but yeah, that it's not enough. And usually their
yeah.
reason saying it didn't work is because they couldn't stick with it because their cravings were calling to them too much and maybe they didn't have enough support. But you talk
Yeah.
about knowing the future. For anybody watching, if you want to get the future with Thomas, be sure to go over to Target Prime Rib and subscribe now so you can hear the rest of his story as it progresses. And the only reason I got to wrap this up is I got a hard stop coming up here very shortly. But I really
No
enjoyed
problem.
having.
Oh,
But hey,
all
Thomas, I
right.
really appreciate you coming and sharing your story today. And for everyone who watched the video to till as long as we've been on, I appreciate you being here. And if Thomas's story resonated with you, please leave something in the comments. And Thomas, if you get a chance to check this video out when it comes out, I hope you get to answer any questions somebody has, or they can always ask you
Yeah,
directly.
I did that with Terry Mann. And actually, it's funny, like for the first time, Terry Mann, I had some negative comments, which obviously happens. And I never had them before. And I'm just looking at them like I had one guy actually do a comment just really quick. When I said about weighing 379 one point, he's, oh, the heck with this. So I'm going to leave because he's not 380. Like 1 pound.
I might even
Yeah,
those. I don't half
they're
people.
just stupid.
The other ones are bots, so don't.
Yeah. It's humorous in my opinion. It's just, I didn't answer to that one and it actually disappeared. So either Terry probably took it away or something happened, but it's just, but yeah, it's amazing. And so just like you thanked me for being on the show, thank you for inviting me. And I'm excited for all of you guys. So far, I've been on Dave Mack, I've been Carrie, now you, and I have 2 more tomorrow.
You're
So,
getting the word out there. You're helping us all to get
yeah,
here.
I hope other people get their words out there. So many stories. Your story is amazing. Carrie's is amazing. I think you had an interview with Renee Shove.
Yep.
A while back, yeah, hers is amazing. It's just so many amazing people. So I'm just so grateful of the community.
Yeah, and if
So,
you like these type of videos where people are telling their stories, one of the things you folks that are watching can do is at the end of this video, I'll have a playlist up here in the corner or somewhere on the screen. I don't know, but it'll allow you to see all of the carnivore conversations that I've had. This is number 36 or 37. And there's so many different types of people and different types of problems that have come to carnivore and found relief. So it is just amazing to me. It's like a miracle cure in a lot of ways, but I don't want to call it that because I don't want to make it something that it's not. It is simply eating the natural human diet and having your body respond to it in ways that we're not used to because we've been eating so much garbage for so long. We don't know what we're supposed to feel like. And I think that carnivore is getting us back to where we feel like we're supposed to feel. First of all, lively and energetic, ready to go take on the day as opposed to feeling lethargic all the time, and having a positive attitude and a positive outlook about our body and things like that. It just makes a huge difference. So, anyway, I appreciate you being here, Thomas. And folks, thanks for joining in. We will see you guys next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?
Hey, it's Dante Ferrigno. I just wanted to thank you first of all for watching this video, but I also wanted to tell you about my merch shop. I have a link in the description for a bunch of different items I've put together for you to be able to show your support for the carnivore lifestyle, and every purchase helps me to keep doing what I'm doing here on Ferrigno Freedom.